Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Beth, where curiosity meets connection. I'm Beth Lees, a lifelong spiritual explorer, passionista, and lover of deep, meaningful conversations. This podcast is all about getting to know amazing people doing wonderful things in the world in a fun and intimate way through interesting questions that spark laughter, insight, and those holy shift moments where your perspective suddenly changes. So get comfy, open your heart, and let's dive into some real soulful conversation. Today's guest is all about magic. She knows how to show you magic. She knows how to make magic. Krista Stanley, PhD, is a modern mystic and a medium who blends deep intuition with decades of corporate savvy and academic rigor. Her journey began as a curious, fearless child who bypassed tricycles and dove into the deep end of life, literally and metaphorically. Though her path led through high level corporate management and wisdom studies, it was a vivid dream and a turquoise 1956 Roadmaster that pointed her toward her truest calling, helping others navigate the wild, wondrous terrain of the unseen. Now, Krista serves as a field guide for the crossover curious. I love that phrase. Gently leading others to reconnect with their intuition, decode their dreams, and open to the wider spheres of wisdom available to us all. With one foot in the spiritual world and one firmly rooted in the here and now, she shows us that the road of life becomes infinitely richer when we tune in to more than what meets the eye. If you've ever wondered how to read the field, tap into your inner knowing, or decode the symbols the universe keeps sending your way, this episode is for you. Welcome, Krista.
Thank you, Beth. It's great to be here.
I need to know about this 1956 turquoise blue, whatever it was.
And that was a pivotal moment in my life and in my work. And the dream came, that was a dream, and it came when when I finally gave up trying to figure out the quantum mathematics of entanglement.
Oh,
I didn't
I wouldn't have even
understand it.
started to think
I
about
couldn't,
it.
I knew that it was important. I knew it held the key to what I was writing about in my dissertation. And I knew I couldn't access it through math because I'm innumerate. I don't do math. I have never done math. And so I finally gave it up. I had to move on. I had to get on with my life. And shortly after that, I had a nightmare. And the nightmare was on these curvy mountain roads, and everybody was driving really erratically. And I was like, who are all these people? This is crazy stuff. And suddenly, this 1956 Roadmaster, turquoise, windows wide open, big seats, elbow out, big white steering wheel, and he is floating on air, big white walls. And I'm thinking, oh my God, look at that car. He is like so in control. And as soon as he passed in front of me, the whole dream shifted. And it was when I went back and evaluated the dream, I realized that that dream was explaining the mathematical proof of
Wow.
this quantum entanglement thing.
And
And
so it came to you in a symbol.
a symbol, and it was the Roadmaster. And I didn't even know it was the Roadmaster. I just knew it was this big, beautiful turquoise, looked like 1950s, big fins, big white walls, like it was an iconic 1950s car. So I did a Google search. And up came the car that I saw in the dream, and it was called the Roadmaster, which was so perfect for what it represented in the dream and how it opened my understanding of what I had been trying to figure out. And so
Wow.
it was extraordinary,
So,
extraordinary.
so I know you do work with dreams. I know you do also you've been trained as a dream work facilitator. Is that what you
Facilitator, yes, yes.
was this were you trained in that when that experience when you had that experience when you had that dream?
I had been studying with Robert Moss because as I was kind of pursuing this idea that we can get information from our world in different ways than just through reading a book or having somebody tell us what they think. And so dreams were like a portal into that realm of symbols and presence and immediacy. And so I knew how to track a dream. I knew how to record a dream. And so when I had the nightmare, we get nightmares because you remember everything about a nightmare. And it comes to you so that you remember everything about it. And
Wow.
so that's how important it is. It's almost as if you've been jostled with your dreams to pay attention to something. And you haven't really, because they're dreams. We tend not to pay much attention to them.
Right.
They're interesting. You can't really figure them out. And so then they give you a nightmare. Then it's like, okay, she's not doing it. You're like, we got to shake her out of this. So I got the nightmare and I knew that I needed to record everything exactly as it happened. No pre or post information, just exactly what happened in the dream as it happened. And what that did for me was when I went back to the mathematical proof, usually what they do is they give a discussion piece in the beginning and at the end. So they language the math. And what I did was I took that languaging of what they were trying to say in the mathematical proof and I plugged in everything from the dream to the concepts they were putting forward.
Wow.
Yeah, it was intense. It took me like a month to do it. And then I thought, okay, this is going to make a great chapter of the dissertation. I was so happy. It was like really good. And then I thought, you know what? What if I'm wrong? What if that dream doesn't mean what I think it meant? They're going to rip me to shreds in the defense of my dissertation. So I had to send it to the authors of this paper, and one of the authors was a physicist at CERN in Switzerland. And
Wow.
I was so intimidated. I just thought, no, I can't possibly send this to them and tell them, I had a dream about your mathematical proof about entanglement. And I'm wondering if you could maybe read it and let me know but I had to do it. So I did it. And Federico Carminati sent me back a note right away and said, yes, it was exactly right.
Wow.
So that was
That's some
incredible.
serious confirmation.
That was serious. Rarely have I received such immediate, distinct confirmation about what is really happening for us.
Well, so it brings up an interesting thing. How do you distinguish like the reality or the signs that you get, dreams or other signs? How do you distinguish between your intuition and your imagination?
Hmm. Well, this is what I say to people. Imagination is your portal. So don't think, oh, it's just my imagination. That's what everybody does. They slough it aside as if it doesn't have anything to do with anything. And it's like the entrance way, it's the portal. And intuition kind of picks up where imagination takes you. And intuition will then give you very definitive sorts of markers. The hair on the back of your neck will rise up. You'll get goosebumps. You'll cry spontaneously. You'll just know something is true. And those are kind of the receptive abilities that we have to verify things that are kind of crossing into our awareness. So you're
Wow.
actually using those to track. Sometimes when the ice cream cone falls on the floor, the ice cream cone is just falling on the floor. That's all that it means. But other times you could have a sense of something, a little spark, that there was something else there that you needed to be aware of. And it might not have anything to do with smashed ice cream on the floor, but it could have something else. And that's where I teach people how to kind of track and be
Oh,
aware of, it's because it's like we're so used to information coming in and it means something right away. Like it comes in whole. We don't, it's not like puzzle pieces that are fitting in or a Rubik's cube or whatever, of where all these pieces are kind of coming in to place and you're not quite certain what it is until it's all in place. That's more of what it is when you're tracking things. It's like
things.
puzzle pieces, and you don't quite know how they fit together, but they seem to be fitting together. And oh, this is ridiculous. I shouldn't even be paying attention to this. I mean, when I first thought, it wasn't immediately that I thought that dream was telling me something. I thought it was a precognitive dream because I drive windy roads on my way to work. And I thought I better be careful because this was weird. These cars were weird. There were crashing cars. It was weird. And then it was about 10 days later, while I'm enjoying my martini, which, sitting at the wall, looking like, what the heck am I doing with my life kind of thing. And I thought, wait a minute, I think that dream is telling me it's a film about that mathematical proof. And then the other side of me comes in and says, that's the most ridiculous thing.
Come on, Krista, have
Oh my
another
God,
drink.
you've got to be kidding me. And then I go, no, 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 really. I think that there's something here. This is really amazing. Well, this is going to be a big waste of time. What, you're going to spend all this time chasing this down? It's ridiculous. So I was really having to fight with myself about it, that those two sides of yourself.
But you were able to quiet that inner critic
I
long enough
quieted.
to,
Well, I know how to do it when you learn how to do that. And sometimes it's an argument, it's like I could have let him one out, him, very
him.
staunch,
I love it, very
aggressive,
masculine.
like give me a break kind of thing. And I didn't. It was like, no, 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 I have to do this. And it proved out. So that's kind of did I answer your question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So, so I know you do dream work and you also do mediumship.
I do mediumship because that was my training ground that I happened into. As a kid, I was what's called claircognizant, and that means you just know things. And I just knew things that I couldn't possibly know as a 6-year-old. Like my mother would say, "How do you know that?" And it's like, I don't know. It just I want to. And I thought everybody thought that way until I realized that they don't. And then I thought, uh-oh, this is not good. I can't tell anybody this.
Because people were feeling uncomfortable about it.
It just was not what everybody else did.
Right.
And I always wanted to fit in with everybody else. I didn't
Of
want to be on the
course.
outside. So anyway, what was I saying there? I precursored that to
To your mediumship.
mediumship. So when I was doing my dissertation, somebody said to me, you know what, you should research mediums because they like click right into the field and they give information. Evidential mediums give information that they can't possibly know about somebody. So I went to a couple of demonstrations and I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. And that there was a practice. It would just happen to me spontaneously. I didn't realize that you could actually train to blend with this field and receive information through your body, through the clairs, you know, through your senses, through your vision, through your hearing, through your smell. Like
So
it was
some people just are naturally good at that and just do it naturally. And then other people can learn how to do it. It's kind of like learning how to play an instrument, I would assume.
exactly.
Some people just can sit down at a piano and go for it and sound like Beethoven. And other people have to work harder to do that.
Yes, and usually the work harder is you have to get stuff out of the way.
Right.
And so for me, I went to take some classes because I thought, you know, I'll be able to write about this better if I've taken a couple of classes. And then I just kept taking classes. But for me, it was a really long learning curve. I've been training for about 10 years. And it was because you have to do a lot of work on yourself. You have to get rid of your fear, your thought that you're not going to know something, that you're going to be left adrift and spirit isn't going to be there. There's all kinds of stuff that you have to just slowly release so that you can start to open up.
And so you can be comfortable with the unknown.
That's correct, because you're holding yourself in the unknown. You've hit the nail on the head. And that's a very uncomfortable place for people.
Well, the truth is we're living in the unknown all the time. We just like to believe that we're
That's
not.
right. That's right. And so the training is really to become very comfortable with having yourself placed in what is. And it's kind of like knowing that so much of what we believe is real is really not. And you start to be able to perceive things in a different way. And you're like talking to what? You know, like at first I thought I was just nuts. But no, you know what? The thing for me is who I was talking to or who was transmitting information was never known to me. It wasn't like Archangel Michael was coming through and saying, Archangel Michael here, we're ready to go.
Can I have the
Let's go
floor?
for it now. Never have I ever gotten that. And so for me, it was a really important lesson not to rely on a concept of who or what is speaking.
That's really
Rely,
interesting.
pardon me?
That's really interesting.
Yeah, because you have to rely on what the information makes you feel like. You are relying on your own ability to discern the veracity, the truthfulness of something, and what to allow go and what needs to stay close. And that's really what the training is about, is kind of being able to discern that actuality.
Wow.
I have a good story about that.
Oh, I love a good story.
Okay. So my mom is on her deathbed and she's her second day of morphine. And she hasn't really been able to speak at all for a couple of weeks. It's been very slurry. And now she's just out of it. Now it appears as if she's not there. And I know she's getting ready to die. This is the end.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there with a nurse's aide who'd been her aide for just a couple of weeks. But my mother adored this woman. Just there was something about her. And so it popped into my head as I'm sitting there, oh my God, I have to tip this aide, because my mother was a big tipper. That's what she did. She grew up with tipping. You always had cash. You were always tipping people. That's what you did. If you couldn't buy them a gift, you would tip. And she had just a really heightened awareness about that. And so I thought, oh gosh, I can't believe I didn't think about that. Okay, I'm going to have to, what am I going to give her? And So I'm going back and forth in my mind, and I come up with a dollar amount that I think, okay, that I think that that's good. I'll do that. And I'm sitting there with my knitting and the nurse's aide and my mom just lying on the bed. And then I give the dollar amount in my mind, and I'm all set. And then I hear twice as much. The dollar amount was twice as much. I'm like, I stop because I know that wasn't my thought. I had already
Wow.
come on the thought.
Right.
And then the another something came in, and I looked at my mother and I was like, "Are you talking to me? Wait a second. I know that it's supposed to work this way. Nobody really believes that it works this way. And here you are
Here it
in
is.
so much trouble about mediumship. What are you doing? How are you doing? What is that? That's ridiculous. And here you are instructing me. It was amazing. It was like a another one of those clarion bells of this is real. This stuff that we're
This stuff
making up
is
is real.
real.
And so I was really glad. It was like her last wish. I was so
Wow.
happy. And it was a tip. It was like so my mother. So that
That's
was really
beautiful. I
cool.
love that.
Yeah.
So how do you help others tune into the signs and
Well,
symbols?
dreams is a really great introduction because not only do you become sensitive to listening, to like, oh, wait, I want to remember my dream, or I want to initiate a dream. That's called dream incubation, which I
I
love
love
that.
that.
Yeah. So, and there's just a lot of really cool ways to work with dreams, active ways of doing it. And then you're working with symbols. You're learning how to discern symbols, and that symbols can mean one symbol can mean like 100 different things.
So then how do you know? Like, I think people think that there's, you know, you have a dream, you have a symbol of, I don't know, a frog, and there's one meaning for that.
Well, there is for the dreamer. Usually, the problem with interpreting our dreams is we can only interpret them from one point of view, our own worldview.
Hmm.
So when you do dream work with a group of people, now you've got a group of people's worldview, and they can't tell you what to think about your dream. They can't interpret your dream for you because it's their worldview. They can only tell you, in my dream, that frog is totally a prince. It's not a slimy, and I would never have made that association.
Right.
And then suddenly I go, oh my heavens, I would never have made that association. And then the whole dream opens up because you're able to look at it from a different point of view.
So you're saying looking up your dream symbol in a book is not the way to work with a dream.
Not necessarily. You can get, I often do Google searches, they're very, very helpful. And it's amazing what comes across your path to help unlock things. And so
Oh, I
sometimes you
love
can
that.
look in a book and you get 5 different interpretations, and only one of them resonates. And then you go, that one resonates. That makes sense. And then it allows you to start to track that from that vantage point. So in
Love
that
that.
way, it can be helpful because it opens up different ways of thinking about stuff.
But I love this idea about doing group dream work because
Yeah,
it gives you insight way bigger than your own perspective.
way bigger. And working also in groups, what we do is you can track into somebody's dream. It's like a shamanic journey into one person's dream. So everybody is journeying back into the dreamer has told the dream. There's something in particular that they don't understand about the dream. Oftentimes that's the case. And so everybody as a group is now going to journey into the dreamer's dream to find out more about
Oh, that's
that
so
thing.
cool.
It's so cool. It's amazing what people come back with and how it opens the field of the dreamer to just wider spheres of wisdom and assistance. It's amazing.
Really awesome. So you
Yeah.
talk about this field.
Yeah. The
What
field.
is this field of which you speak, Krista?
I call it, it's like it's like a field of consciousness, or it's a field of information. It's the oneness. It goes by a lot of different names. I don't know if technically it's a field like the electromagnetic field or the gravitational field. Quantum physicists seem to think that it's a field of information. And so for me, everything is about the transfer of information. That's what I work with. That's what it's always been for me. And so I refer to the field, and in the mediumship, what I'm doing is I'm blending, I'm releasing any thought that I know anything at all. And I'm blending with the field. That's what I say. It feels like I'm just moving in my whole auric field, my mind, my spirit is moving into this field of infinite potential. And then certain things start coming forward about a person who is speaking to me to speak to the person who I'm working with. And so I start getting little pieces of the puzzle. Oh, I see that this is a woman. And I see that she was very short in stature. I also, she's letting me know that she lived to a very old age. I'm also starting to feel in my body that my knees were bad. My knees are aching me. And then I ask the person who I'm working with, would you understand who this is? And I have to get an answer from them, yes or no. And that's how the information comes in. I don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from this field, and I'm able to perceive it in these different ways.
So you're like if we were looking at time and space, you remove yourself from this place.
Yes, there is no time or space.
Right. And so you're moving into a place where there's like a lot of information that can come at you, but the person who's passed is in a different place.
It's all, I think it's just my conjecture. I think it's all the same place. And what happens is the person, the client who's come to connect with one of their relatives or somebody, or they're the magnet. That person is not going to, that spirit is not just going to come to me. There's a reason why they're
Oh, I
coming.
love this.
And usually the reason is not to say she was 5'2", she had knee problems, and she had, she was a whippersnapper. It does. That's not why those are identifying pieces of information so you know who you're talking to, and that I couldn't possibly know that
Mhm.
about anything in your life. But she's coming through for a specific reason. And usually it's like, so I see you're working on something that you're not quite tending to. And I think you need to tend to it. It's that kind of thing. It's assistance that comes in, or just pure love to let somebody know that they're not alone, or for forgiveness. Sometimes all kinds of stuff can happen in our life, and
Oh,
people
for
go
sure.
before there's resolution. Healing goes both ways. So just because the spirit's gone to wherever they've gone to, my experience is there can be lingering bereftment and need to resolve things, which requires us to agree to that. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes a client will not. They don't want to talk to that person. And
Wow.
so that, it's kind of the same. thing as when we're alive, it's a different way of
Realm.
receiving the information. Now a consciousness is not embodied. And how would you do that? If somebody can't talk to you, how are you going to hear them? And that's what we tune into. That's where you start to tune and you start to learn to trust. It's all about trust.
I love that. Is there a message that comes through most often?
It's such an individual thing. And sometimes the message comes through just in a weird kind of quirky thing. I was giving a reading and it was in the winter time, and a snowplow was going up and down my road like it was so loud. And sometimes when there's that kind of interruption, wait, that interruption is coming in for a reason. It was up and down and up and down. It was like, and it was really loud on the road. I said, I just have to say this. I'm really sorry, but there's this snow plow. I'm hoping you can't hear it in the thing, and it keeps coming up and down. At the end of the thing, she said, my father drove a snowplow, and it was
Wow.
one of his favorite things to do. And so that was it. It was like, oh my God, they're
That is so
really
cool.
here with us. And, just temporary. They come in and they go. I think they're living their own life. But the quantum physicists say no information has ever been lost. Information
Wow.
is not lost. It just changes form. And so when you think about that, think of everything that's ever felt or thought or lived, everything. And that's in the field.
That's a
It's like
big field, is all
it's
I
like a
gotta
black
say.
hole. It's the event horizon on a black hole. This a massive density of information. And we are able to tap into it and access things that are important in our life in this moment. For me, that's the critical part of it. It's a very purposeful sort of connection that assists and gives us the old that attaboy, like it really, it's extraordinary in that way.
Well, and it can create a huge impact in our current lives if we
It's
tap into
totally
it.
transformative.
Yeah.
Totally.
So what's something that you used to believe that you no longer do because of all this work?
I think it's more of how I used to be that I no longer am.
Wow.
And I think I used to feel like I needed to be really assertive and controlling in my life in order to make things work right. And in my corporate life, I was a manager. I managed people, I managed big events, I managed wedding cake production. It was a whole big range of things. And I was really good at it. But there was just something major missing from the endeavor of that kind of directedness that had no room for or no spaciousness. I lacked spaciousness in that way. And I think that that's what's changed. Now I can sit in a doctor's office and close my eyes and not look at my phone and kind of feel around the room and just, there's something that's just, there's much more pleasantry in and and love in my life. There wasn't a lot of room for love. Love kind of got in the way. It was a little messy. It was like problems, problems at work. You never did that. I never really made friends with coworkers because, you might have to fire them. You might have to, there are kind of real world concerns that, and that's different, very, very different now.
I love that. So it was part of your healing journey, right?
Totally. Oh my God. It's been, and somebody says to me, I say 66 years. It only took me 66 years to figure this out. And somebody said, there's no time.
And
There's
there's no
no
time,
time.
there's no
So it's
space.
kind of like, oh yeah, no, it was just my journey. It's my journey. And now I think the part of my journey is really to assist people. I really feel in every step along the way, teaching has been the thing for me that's like a core. And I love doing the mediumship work, but the teaching work is just, there's a fruitfulness to that. And to see people light up when they get those aha moments, or when they start to say, you know what, I've just been looking at things a little bit differently, and I didn't get really angry at the checkout lady who was giving me a really hard time because I suddenly realized that she was having a really bad day. And it's that kind of thing. It's like, yes, that's really good.
Well, it's a holy shift. You're teaching people how to create holy shifts in their lives.
Holy shifts.
Exactly.
The big
So tell me
holy
about
shift.
some of the services that you offer.
Well, I'm going to start a series kind of introductory classes, like I think a series of 5. I haven't designed it yet. I think it's going to be 5, which introduces people to the 5 areas that I focus on to work in a one-on-one way or small group way of
Nice.
training people how to start to be aware of these ways of receiving information, and then to start to institute it in their life. And that, so the introduction would be, okay, these are the ways we're going to be working. And then if people want to continue, then we do the one-on-ones, which would go for like a 6-month period, where there's really intensive work on your dreams and on your synchronicities in your life, and how do you make changes and take action. The thing with dreams that's really amazing, the way I was taught, is after you do all the dream work and everybody tells you what they think about the dream and you can take it or leave it or whatever, then you have to devise an action plan. Like for the turquoise Roadmaster, I had to go look for something turquoise. I had to wear turquoise.
Oh,
That
I
was
love it. So you're
such
actually,
an important part. And what you're doing is you're telling the field of consciousness, the field of spirit, the oneness, whatever, I'm paying attention and I want to have a conversation. I want to continue to participate. That's what you're saying. And so once you say that, once you make that stance, then the information starts coming more readily, more often, more, and that's what I teach people to do.
that's so cool. So it's like you become a magnet for all that information.
You become a magnet. Absolutely.
I
Yep.
love that.
Yeah. It's cool. It's really, really
It's
great.
so cool.
Yeah.
So what's your where can people find you?
I have a website, which I'm going to be kind of shifting a little bit because I've been focused on the mediumship. And because that was where my training was, that was, I needed to work on mastery of that. And now I'm shifting. So I'm going to start to be creating these kind of modules and working with people one-on-one. So that will be the website. I'm also doing classes. I do classes at the Angel Cooperative, primarily in psychic and mediumship work. I'm going to be working with a woman who was a student of mine, and she's starting stuff up in Old Greenwich. I'll be doing some stuff with her. I was just at Chautauqua in all the way west in New York. You know where Chautauqua is? It's
I
like,
have no idea.
it was cool. Did a week on wider spheres of consciousness, and so I hope to kind of keep that going. That's a summer thing. Wainwright House, I'm hoping to do a dream work group at Wainwright House and then maybe
That'll be
some
awesome.
presentation stuff. So I'm starting to outreach to areas so people can come and just get a flavor for what it is that we're
Yeah.
doing. So they don't have to kind of jump in the deep end. Some people just like to jump in the deep end.
Some people are, I'm one of those people who just likes
I'm a deep end jumper.
yeah.
I know. And as a kid, that's so funny. Every picture of me as a kid, I got one of those big orange life preservers. Remember those things that you had to wear? Big, every single picture. And it was because I just jump in the deep end. I didn't know how to swim. And I would just jump in. It was.
And some people just stand at the shore and dip their toes in the
Oh, way.
water.
I was going to drown myself. My mother's like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, well, it's water.
It's water. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for jumping into the deep end with me today.
Yeah. Well, Beth, thanks so much. I love talking with you.
And your website is thekristavibe.com.
Yeah. VIBE, vibe.
Thekristavibe.com. I'll have all that information on the thing. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Beth,
I adore
thanks. This has
you.
been great.
Woohoo!
Okay. I'll see you around.